Right, former world champ Barry Michael, mate. What do you make of this fight, Joseph Parker as Django Opelu? What are your thoughts on it?
Look, I'm really looking forward to it, excited about it, to be honest, because I've always been a big Joseph Parker fan, and I've seen Django fight a couple of times, and man, he always comes to fight. He's a big puncher, typical, got that Samoan heritage, but Joseph Parker, former world champion, and undoubtedly one of the best heavyweights in the world still. He's only 31, and he's only lost 3 fights, and to the best.
What's it mean, I guess, to have a fight like this and a fighter of his calibre headlining a show here in Melbourne?
I think it's great because we seem to have been losing a lot of the fights to Sydney and Brisbane and whatever, and it's great to see big-time boxing, basically, world-class boxing come back to Melbourne, which is really ultimately the sporting capital of Australia, and great to see a quality heavyweight fight as the main event and a great undercard. We've got some of Australia's top stars. You got no limit. They do the best shows. They just do fantastic stuff, and it's great to see.
Nikita Tszyu, Ben Bommber. Ben looks extremely confident. What do you read into that?
Yeah, look, Ben's extremely confident. He's done everything right. He's been training in America. You couldn't get better preparation than going to Vegas and train, because as he says, there's so many good fighters in the gyms and so much good competition. But as I said before, with the Nikita Tszyu, the Tszyu camp, they do everything 110% meticulously correct. They are amazing, everything they do. Glenn Jennings, the manager, it's his birthday today, and happy birthday, Glenn. Great guy, and he looked after Tszyu through Tszyu's career, rang not as a manager but as a security man, then he became manager of Timmy and Nikita, and a very, very competent. The whole team, Tszyu's father and the grandfather, all of them training together. They are just so good at what they do, and that's why I knew Tim would go on and win the world title. And Nikita's on his way too. He's a great fighter.
What do you made of Nikita? Obviously, he's refined his sort of style a little bit since those first couple of fights.
He's improved dramatically. I think every fight he has, he's improving, but it's still early doors. I mean, he's still both of them are relative novices. I think it'll be a really exciting fight. Probably could be the toughest fight Nikita's had so far. The best man wins on the night. But great to see these sort of fights happening in Australian boxing, and specifically here in Melbourne at Margaret Court. It's going to be great. It's an awesome arena, and let's hope we get a Commonwealth heavyweight title. I think it's the first time for 100 years, or a lot of years, it's been fought for in Australia, the heavyweight title.
What would you like to see more from Nikita? What does he have to do to sort of step up his game as he moves forward in his career? To
be honest with you, I just think he's progressing every time I've seen him, and I've done every one of his fights. I think he's improving every time. His conditioning is getting better, which, when you haven't done it before, it takes you a while. You need to step up bit by bit, and that's, he was being pressured there by Benjamin to fight an 8-rounder instead of a 6-rounder, but his team have said 6 rounds, and that's the way they are. So at 6 rounds, they set a goal towards that, they work towards, they look at their opponent, they analyse them, and then they put the game plan together. Now, I'm not saying Nikita's definitely going to win, but if Ben wins, it'll be a bit of a shock, I think, and it's going to be a cracking fight. We've got some great undercard fights. Good to see Jade Mitchell back. Good to see Joel Taylor on the card as well. And it's going to be a top night. And David Naika, my mate Noel Thornbury manages David. He's a very exciting prospect as well. So No Limit have done it again, put together another great card.
Now, just on Tszyu, obviously scheduled to fight Charlo later in the year, but it's going to have a fight in between. How much of a risk is that, and what sort of an opponent would you be looking to fight if he was to fight?
Well, I've heard the name of Austin Trout mentioned, former world champion a couple of times, probably getting a bit long in the tooth now. Probably a good fight for Tim at this stage of his career. But to be honest with you, this whole Charlo thing, how long can Charlo do this? I mean, it's not the first time he's postponed. It's been over a year in the making. If it happens again, and it confuses me, I've had fractured hands and all that sort of stuff, but I've never broken my hand with 16-ounce gloves and head guards on, and he broke his hand in 2 places. Now, was that in the gym or was it not? And, it's not the first time he's postponed. If it happens again and the fight's not going to happen, all the boxing bodies are going to have to take the title off him, and that'll cause chaos as far as having a unified champion. But Timmy Tszyu, for me, is on his way to unifying the title eventually at some stage, and he's improving every fight.
You know, another thing around at the moment, Brock Jarvis is obviously split with Jeff Fenech and looks to increase in weight. What are your thoughts on him going up in weight, and how do you think he'll fare at the high weight?
He's a great puncher. He's a great body puncher. Probably just needs to work on his defence a bit and get side on. And look, I've always, looked at the sides of him and figured that he could easily fight at a much higher level. Although, the bigger they are, I guess, the harder they punch. Time will tell, but as long as he train, and look, Jeff's still, there's no animosity between them. He's just moving on a different direction, and I wish Brock all the best because he's a very exciting fighter indeed.